6 o'clock, our top story: bells, prayers, tears, and words of hope as Richmond remembers the heroes and victims of 9/11. A year ago today, a day we will never forget.
There are a number of ceremonies today around the area. Stephanie Rochon will be at the Pentagon. We'll join her live shortly for a live update from there.
But first, Tracy Sears takes us to the Carillon, where sounds of hope and freedom ring.
1 year ago today, this country stood still. Right here in Richmond, we mourned, we grew angry, and we searched for answers. Today, we look back on September the 11th and how it's changed us. For a brief moment, there was silence. And then at 8:47, the bells at Carillon began tolling. They rang for the 3,000 lives lost, the brave sacrifices made, and the pain of a nation trying to heal.
Grief and tragedy and hatred are only for a time. Goodness, remembrance, and love have no end.
United by the bonds of hope, hundreds of Richmonders stood together. They were the faces of firefighters, police officers, dignitaries, and leaders. They were the faces of everyday people like Tommy Salmons, a patriotic veteran trying to help families through their grief.
Maybe I'm doing my part in a small way to kind of help them get through it all, you know. I don't know, I'm sure I'm not having kind of an impact on those people, but in my mind I am.
They were also the faces of children, leading this country to a brighter future.
I think of all the good things that America has, as in freedom.
How does it make you feel to be able to help out and do something today?
Glad. And it makes me feel happy to see that I can make a difference in the world.
One thing that we have learned from September 11, 2001 is that we're stronger when we're together.
Now a nation more resilient, Richmonders remember once again the darkness that was September the 11th and the light that is justice and freedom.
We are the power of one. We are united. We are America.
Now, there are other memorials tonight in the area.
Stay with us. We'll run down where and when throughout this newscast.
Now, two ceremonies today at the Pentagon, one in tribute to the 184 victims who died there. This flyover honors the victims. It concluded the somber ceremony. Thousands listened as President Bush vowed to keep their spirits alive by defeating terrorism. Our Stephanie Rochon is live at the Pentagon. Steph, you watched today with Governor Warner.
I was able to spend some time with some of the Arlington firefighters. 22 representatives from the fire department were able to attend this morning's ceremony. The firefighters who could not attend found their own way to honor the dead. The men of Fire Station Number 5, their minds on New York, take a moment to remember.
First thing is to remember the guys in New York. So it's kind of a remembrance to them.
All of them raced to a Pentagon in flames. The memories are still very vivid.
So there were situations where they had temperatures in the hallways of 1,600 degrees. And some of the members were on their bellies, running out of air.
Captain Edward Hannon climbed deep inside the jet's wreckage.
A lot of different memories. There were still people that were on fire in the Pentagon.
They lost hundreds of their brothers in New York. These firefighters are thankful they lost no one at the Pentagon. No one was even seriously hurt. The governor drops in to spend time with these heroes. Why did you want to be here today? Why did you want to be with these guys?
I wanted to be here to say thank you from a grateful people.
They're grateful for the recognition, but are ready to get back to work.
But it'll definitely be a good day to be done with. Definitely be a good day to be over and done with.
The firefighters we spoke with say they don't take their free time for granted anymore. Rather than work overtime, they spend it with their families. Reporting live from Arlington, Stephanie Rochon, News 6 Network.
Steph, with President Bush there, give us an insight as to how tight security was today around the Pentagon.
Well, Ray, we spent the morning primarily with those firefighters, but as you can imagine, the security here was very tight with the president here, many members of his cabinet here.
All right, thank you, Stephanie. Live from the Pentagon. We'll have continuing coverage from the Pentagon. Later on, Deborah Cox has the story of a Virginia man who volunteered to help rebuild the Pentagon after the attack. That story coming your way at 6:09.
A local Catholic church that lost several of its members of its congregation on 9/11 held a day of remembrance service today. Names of 2 victims and former members of Cathedral of the Sacred Heart were posted at the entrance of the church. 2 services were held today, and one tonight will be at 7 o'clock to remember the victims of 9/11. One church member from New York says she spent the day in prayer, remembrance, and with family.
I'm a former New Yorker. I've been back to the city many times, but you almost don't even have to be there to just feel the catastrophic effects of what was done to our country a year ago.
The closing hymn for the 2 of the services was America the Beautiful. And state police honored their own heroes today. Today they unveiled this flag signed by Virginia officers who responded to the Pentagon attack. The flag with about 100 names will be displayed at the state police offices.
And a special ceremony at the recently closed Virginia Fire and Police Museum today. The museum on West Marshall Street opened for 2 hours this morning. There was a moment of silence and a memorial to the victims. Children were asked to bring drawings of patriotism, and there they are. The museum closed earlier this month due to a lack of donations. They hope to reopen sometime in the near future.
You won't see many planes flying overhead. Many major airlines are cutting back flights today.
It's a quiet day at the airport. Greg McQuaid's live at RIC for us. Greg?
Anticipating a slow day in business, airlines slashed their domestic flights all across the board today by 13%. Passenger business was down by more than 50% here at RIC, and they expect business to be dropped off here at the airport for the rest of the week. They said this is something that the airline industry did not want to experience, especially in these bad times. But for the folks that did end up flying today, they said it was a pleasant experience. Richmond International Airport is open for business, but standing in the terminal, you wouldn't know it.
Pretty quiet. It's kind of nice to have it this quiet, except when you know the reason why it's not that nice.
Fear surrounding the anniversary of 9/11 is keeping passengers away from RIC and other airports across the nation. In Richmond, passenger volume was down by more than 50%.
I had requested not to fly today, but it was just too long of a drive back from Chicago to Richmond.
Adding to the anxiety, the federal government's heightened alert about possible terrorist activity. Still, some passengers found flying today to be hassle-free.
There's no problems whatsoever, actually. We got on the plane, security was fine. It wasn't like there was any extenuating circumstances beyond that.
It turned out to be a great day to fly. I had tons of room on the plane.
Some airlines went to extremes, encouraging people to fly. Spirit Airlines gave away nearly 13,000 tickets, but many passengers didn't show up. Not every person was jittery of flying today. Some travelers wanted to make a statement.
I'm just not going to give in to this terrorist thing. I'm not going to let it scare me.
You could definitely tell business was off here at RIC. Many of the stores here in the terminal were half empty. The parking lot was half empty, and many of the passengers just refused to stay away. As you heard, passenger volume was down by more than 50% today, and a spokesperson, Troy Bell, said today that this whole week will be off, and that's not good news for the airline industry. Folks?
Greg, although business will be off, it's service as usual tomorrow?
It will be. They will reintroduce some of those flights that they cut back on today, but Troy Bell says it's not going to be business as usual here at RIC and at many of the airports across the nation.
Thank you, Greg. Live at RIC.
As the world remembers the victims of 9/11, many still worry, will terrorists strike again?
How Richmond prepares for that, coming up.
This Virginia man wanted to be part of American history. Find out how he helped after the attack at the Pentagon.
Now, this is a live picture of President Bush right now at Ground Zero with some victims' relatives. He arrived there about 4:45 this afternoon. Later on, he'll go to Ellis Island to address the nation at the Statue of Liberty. That's at 9 o'clock right here on WTVR 6. Earlier, it was a moment of silence at 8:46 a.m., the exact minute the first hijacked plane hit the World Trade Center.
Jerry Ann Bordeaux, Christine Bordinabe.
And then one by one, the names of 2,801 victims were read.
If you would like to pay tribute to the victims, here are some of the local 9/11 ceremonies tonight. We'll be right back.